Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. In a continuing series of my man crush on Elon Musk, I'm going to look at the future of SpaceX. Doing a little bit of reading after my last video on Elon Musk. When I came up with the government, the Hierophant card, that could very well be SpaceX, specifically Starlink satellites. That's his satellite network to bring internet to the world, basically. And Ukraine was using it as part of the war against Russia. And Ukraine wanted to use Starlink to help guide a drone strike in the Crimea region. And Elon Musk wouldn't allow them to do that, citing it would start World War III. Elon has often been a mouthpiece for Russia in this conflict, and his far-right conspiracy theories sort of align with Russia propaganda talking points. So the government might have something to say. I know that Beau of the Fifth Column did something on Elon and Starlink like a year ago when he was letting him use Starlink, then he was going to cut him off until he got paid. And he basically, the government felt like they were extorting him, but they paid it, and I'm sure they will pay, as Beau put it, they'll pay Elon a visit later. So come on down, let's see what's going on with SpaceX, because if it doesn't have an X on it, what good is it? Entertainment purposes only. Okay, SpaceX, a lot of problems, a lot of struggles, a lot of birds that they have to do. Yeah, it's not easy running a space program. They're expensive. Ask the U.S. government and NASA how expensive they are to run. So, but I think Elon's also got a lot on his plate right now with Twitter and everything else. So, this could be about Elon. This could be about SpaceX. This is supposed to be about SpaceX. But there's also celebration here. SpaceX has had successes. Oh, that's right. They just launched a massive communication satellite like 3 days ago. So despite the burden of trying to get SpaceX off the ground, there's your rim shot for the day. About your bad pun. They're having their successes. So SpaceX is having its moments of successes. In the past, Knight of Cups. This is one of Elon's big passions. I was reading an article in researching this where he said he wants to die on Mars, but not on impact. So his goal is to build a colony on Mars, be the ruler of Mars, and then die there. Segue. Who here remembers Marvin the Martian from the Bugs Bunny cartoons? The little dark-skinned with the Roman centurion helmet and a little tutu around him, with the Illudium Pew 36 explosive space modulator. It's Elon. Who knew Nostradamus worked for Warner Brothers for Looney Tunes? Current situation, hallucinations and delusions. Some people are concerned about Elon's mental health. I think this is also with SpaceX. It is truly a project of passion. And when you've got that passion, you have to be able to ground it in reality. Now, SpaceX thrives on out-of-the-box thinking, which is great. But you can really go down a rabbit hole of non-practicality when you're in pie-in-the-sky type thinking. So you have to balance your goals and ambitions with what you can actually get done with the resources at hand and the technology at hand. Yeah, you might want to build a colony on Mars, but that may not be feasible for another 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. So don't be in such a rush to get it done. You have to have timing. So you got to temper your fantasies and your dreams with the technology at the time. Overarching situation with SpaceX. Well, certainly with their satellite system, that's going to provide revenue. So they need revenue. They need money coming in. And then they also need to show that they're providing value. They're providing a valuable service. So you fundraise and you provide a valuable service, and then you get money flowing through the whole thing. But interesting, you have 2 nights so far. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of things happening with SpaceX. I know that NASA wants to go back to the moon. I don't know if SpaceX is going to help them with it. Maybe they will. I know there's been talk about space stations, moon, and Mars. But I'm guessing if there's going to be like a NASA joint venture with SpaceX, it might do with returning to the moon. So I don't think of this as the mysteries. I actually think of this physically as the heavenly body in the sky. So keep an eye out for information on SpaceX and the NASA's returning human beings to the moon. Outcome, Empress. I think SpaceX is doing well. They have good revenue. They are providing services, and they're in really good shape for the moment in their current iteration. Underneath it all is the Six of Cups, the nostalgia card. This is kind of like a lifelong fantasy of Elon's, is to have, his own. He gets to be an astronaut with his own spaceship, and he's going to go colonize a planet. This has been kind of like a lifelong dream of his since he was a little kid. And he's got the money and the vision to do it, and he's going to do it. Well, good on him, Not many of us can say that we've done something like that. Okay. But I think if he's going to do something like that, he really needs to dedicate himself to something like that. So, he's got to create time for that vision and make that a passion. I mean, people aren't relegated to a single passion. You can have multiple things and many things that you're passionate about, but there's usually not enough time in the day to devote to all those passions. And this is not a small undertaking, to say the least. Okay, now, covering the general review of SpaceX, I'm going to dive into Starlink now, because this is where Elon can get himself into some real trouble. And he doesn't seem to shy away from trouble. He kind of seems to go to it. I think he probably was not the best behaved boy in his class, if you know what I mean. The teacher knew his name within the first day or two. That's not good, as all you teachers out there know. With the whole Starlink thing and the U.S. support of Ukraine and Elon wanting to be paid for Starlink, so on and so forth, how is that going to shake out with the U.S. government? And again, he's allowed to get paid. He should get paid if people are using his system. But I seem to recall he busted out this little lovely nugget about Ukraine paying for it fairly early on in the process, when we were probably still amazed that Ukraine didn't fall within the first 3 days of the invasion. And they had a chance. And then all of a sudden, Elon's talking about withholding resources unless he gets paid. The timing was horrible. But again, just like with that SpaceX, you can have the great ideas, to get paid for it. It's working on the timing and working on the optics too. He could have kept that quiet and just had a quiet discussion with the U.S. That didn't have to be out in the press, nor should it have been. But again, seems to be carrying Putin's water sometimes. So we'll see what happens. What's going to happen as a result of Elon's actions with Starlink? Chariot. Okay, things are going to be moving forward. Things are progressing. Where they're progressing to, we don't know. We're progressing to the Devil card. Okay. There's your links to Starlink. Starlink is growing, but Elon has shown himself to be somebody who can't be trusted, but they're volatile. They're not stable. When you have something, a communication platform like that, you don't want to be at the whim of a 3-year-old having a frickin' temper tantrum. So, I think the government, if they want to continue using Starlink, they know that they're voluntarily linking themselves to Elon, and I don't know how they're going to go about reining him in if they can rein him in. I don't think the government can claim eminent domain over his satellites. So you're kind of stuck dealing with the devil if you want to move forward. In the past, there's the Elon card. Somebody being out of their element. Now, again, for Twitter and things like that, he seems to be out of his element. But with SpaceX, he seems to have grown over time. Got me a sip of water here. So, new program. It's gotten off the ground. Bump. Your second pun for the day, and we'll be moving on. So, Elon's starting to get it. I think he's understanding the game that you play with the government too. Current situation is the fool. It's the new beginnings, the fresh starts. I think Starlink is showing its value to the U.S. government. Certainly showing value to Ukraine when they're allowed to use it. There's your double card again, right there. There's a lot of benefits to Starlink and that communication on there. But again, you have to deal with Elon, and he can be a bit foolish, childish, if you will. So there's going to be some judgment. Overall, the government's assessing things with Elon, and I think they'll probably come up with some compromise with him. That they may be basically, I think the government will get some dirt on Elon and then, let them know they have this dirt, and we're just going to play nice. You're going to let us use Starlink. You're not going to shut Starlink down when you're having a tantrum, and we're not going to throw you in prison for all these various crimes that you've done. Okay? Okay? Good? We good? We're good. Good. Lesson to be learned, Page of Cups, the stinky fish card. He's different. Page of Swords, Page of Cups, Fool card. He has a very youthful way of looking at life. But again, some readers and some intuitives have seen Elon not keeping his sanity for very long. So it's something you have to deal with when you're dealing with Elon. He's a fish of a different color. Outcome for Starlink is the Two of Pentacles. It's balancing. It's balancing the value that you can get from Starlink versus the monetary value versus the political value and the political clout. Certainly, starting with William Randolph Hearst and moving on, he understood about yellow journalism and the power that the media and communications has. Elon's taking that communications to space, and he's seen how much turmoil you can cause when you're interrupting communications, which also means that they're valuable and you can make a lot of money off of that. Underneath it all is the Hanged Man. I don't think Elon's going to be the willing sacrifice, or the government's going to make him the willing sacrifice. I think the government, when dealing with Elon, has to look at things differently than they would a standard businessman or a standard business, because you're dealing with this personality mixed with this personality. And I just buried that Page of Swords, or else I'd pull that one up too. So it's different. The government has to think differently on that, but probably their tactics will work fairly well regardless, because they have the law on their side. Okay, so we've covered SpaceX. We've gone to Starlink. Is there anything else with Elon I want to cover here? There was one other thing I wanted to cover. Was it hold Oh, is it, folks? I should have told you up front. Well, let's find out. It was going to be a Starlink question, but I'm kind of drawn. Will Elon make it to Mars? Will he get his ass to Mars? Another movie quote for you. Total Recall. Okay. Will Elon get to Mars? Page of Cups just popped up again. He sure wants to. Will Elon get to Mars and establish himself as the ruler of Mars? Will he become Marvin the Martian? Okay, will he make it to Mars? He's going to fight for it. He's going to give it all he's got. And he thinks he's got a better shot than most to get there. This card did pop up earlier when I was doing the initial shuffling. Winner takes all. This is just his ego, his narcissism, his sociopathy. He's like, I'm the best. I can do this. I'm an explorer. I'm the Teddy Roosevelt of my time. I'm the Jack London of my time. I'm going to go forward and do all these things. But there's disappointment and heartbreak. I don't think he's going to make it. That doesn't mean that there won't be colonies on Mars, but I don't think he personally is going to make it. Something to do with justice. Maybe he can't. I don't know how the government would be able. He might run into some legal problems. He might run into some legal problems that get in the way of him actually making that journey. I'm not seeing cray problems, but the Justice card might just very well be that, karmically, he's not supposed to go there. That, he can have the vision and he can get the things in place, but, he doesn't live that long, or he's not, he doesn't have the capacity to make it, or he doesn't have the health to make it. There's going to be something that probably prevents him from making it. But that doesn't mean that there won't be something there. It just probably means he won't be the ruler of Mars when he's there, although he'd love to be. Trust me on that one. He would love to be. Maybe that Justice card's that. Maybe he creates a new position. He becomes the ruler of Mars underneath all that. But again, with that disappointment card, maybe he does die on impact. Okay, I'm going to stick with that one. He makes it to Mars. And he dies on Mars, but he does it the way he doesn't want to do it. He dies on impact. We'll throw that one out there. Let's see if this channel's still around in 30 years when this finally happens, and we can all say, hey, he was right 30 years ago. Anyway, thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for all your likes and comments and all the YouTubey things to keep this channel on being promoted to other viewers so that we can bring people in and share the love. Thanks a lot. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.